It was a cold, windy evening in a small American town called Ridgefield. The neon lights of the Iron Horse bar flickered faintly against the drizzle. Inside, the bar was filled with the sound of laughter, clinking glasses, and the deep rumble of biker boots on the old wooden floor. The men of the Iron Wolves Motorcycle Club were celebrating after a long charity ride they'd done for local veterans. But all that noise and energy came to a sudden halt when the door creaked open. A woman stood there, soaked, trembling, and clearly terrified. Her clothes were torn, her hair messy from the rain, and her arms were wrapped protectively around her belly. She was pregnant, visibly around 7 months. Every biker in the bar froze, unsure what to make of this sudden interruption. Then their leader, a tall, broad-shouldered man named Jax Steele Walker, stood up from his stool. Tattoos crept up his arms and neck, and his leather vest carried the club's emblem, a wolf head surrounded by iron wings. He took one look at her and knew something was wrong. "You okay, Mom?" he asked, his voice deep but gentle. The woman hesitated, glancing around nervously as if afraid of being followed. Her lips trembled when she finally spoke. "Please, I need help." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Someone's after me." That single sentence changed the entire mood in the bar. The bikers exchanged silent looks. They had seen plenty of trouble in their lives, but something about this woman hit different. She wasn't a stranger looking for money or shelter. She was desperate, and she was carrying a life inside her. Jax approached her slowly, removing his leather gloves. "You're safe here," he said, holding out his hand. "No one's gonna hurt you." Emily, that was her name, she later said, stepped inside, shaking from both cold and fear. Jax guided her to a booth near the back, away from the noise. One of the bikers, a kind-hearted giant named Bear, handed her his flannel jacket, while another brought a steaming mug of tea. "Take your time," Jax told her. "You can tell us what's going on when you're ready." Emily looked up, eyes glistening. "My boyfriend," she began, her voice breaking. He got angry when I told him I'm keeping the baby. He said he never wanted it, and he threw me out." The men around the table grew silent. Jax clenched his jaw, his knuckles tightening. "Where is he now?" he asked firmly. She shook her head. "I don't know, but he said he'd find me." Outside, thunder rolled over the mountains. Inside, the bikers of the Iron Wolves made an unspoken promise. They didn't know Emily, but that didn't matter. She needed help, and no one hurt a woman or a child on their watch. Jax looked at his crew and then at Emily. "You're under our protection now," he said quietly. "You and that baby. Nobody touches you while we're breathing." And for the first time in days, Emily felt safe. The rain had stopped, but the anger inside the Iron Horse bar was still storming. Jax and his crew sat around the table, listening to every word Emily said. Her voice trembled as she told them the full story. Her boyfriend, Rick, had been controlling and violent for months. When she told him she was pregnant and wanted to keep the baby, he snapped, threw her out of their trailer, took her phone, and warned her never to come back. She'd walked for miles before finding the light of the biker bar. When she finished, the room was silent. The sound of the jukebox had faded. Even the air felt heavier. Jax leaned forward, eyes burning with quiet rage. "So this guy thinks he can toss out a woman, his woman, carrying his child," he said, shaking his head. "Not in my town." Bear cracked his knuckles. "What do you want us to do, boss?" Jax took a deep breath and looked at Emily. "We'll make sure you're safe first, then we'll handle him." He turned to one of his younger riders, Colt. "Get the van ready. Take Emily to the clubhouse. Mia's there, she'll take care of her." Colt nodded and helped Emily stand. She looked scared but grateful. "You don't have to do this," she said softly. Jax met her eyes. "Mom, we take care of our own." You walked into our world, now you're part of it." Minutes later, the roar of engines filled the night. Jax and 10 of his bikers mounted their Harleys, leather jackets glistening under the streetlights. The Iron Wolves were on the hunt, not for revenge, but for justice. They rode through the empty streets, headlights cutting through the mist, until they reached a run-down trailer park on the edge of town. Rick's trailer was easy to spot. Loud music, broken windows, and a few beer cans scattered on the steps. Jax motioned for the others to wait as he stepped forward. He knocked hard. The door swung open and there he was, Rick, half drunk and angry, trying to act tough. "What the hell do you want?" Rick sneered, eyeing Jax's cut. "You one of her new boyfriends?" Jax didn't flinch. "No, I'm the guy who's gonna make sure you never go near Emily again." Rick laughed until he saw the line of bikers behind Jax, silent, intimidating, and ready. His smirk vanished. "You can't tell me what to do," he muttered. Jax stepped closer, voice calm but firm. "You ever lay a hand on her again, or even come near her, we'll make sure every road in this town knows your name. And not in a good way." Rick's hand shook. He nodded quickly, mumbling something about leaving town. Jax stared at him one last time. "Good. Do that." As the bikers turned their engines back on, thunder rolled again. But this time it wasn't from the sky. It was from the roar of a dozen bikes leaving justice in their wake. Emily was safe now, and the Iron Wolves had just proven that not all heroes wear badges. Some wear leather and ride on steel. When Jax and the Iron Wolves returned to the clubhouse later that night, the storm clouds had cleared. The moonlight shimmered on the chrome of their bikes as they parked in a neat line. Inside, the warm light and laughter replaced the tension that had hung heavy hours ago. Emily was sitting on a couch wrapped in a blanket, a hot cup of tea in her hands. Mia, Jax's sister and the club's unofficial nurse, sat beside her, smiling softly. When the bikers walked in, Emily immediately stood up. Did you find him?" she asked nervously. Jax nodded. "He won't bother you again," he said firmly. "You're safe now, Emily, that's a promise." Tears welled in her eyes and she whispered, "I don't know how to thank you." Bear chuckled. "No thanks needed, sweetheart. Just promise you'll rest and take care of that little one." Days passed and the Iron Wolves kept their word. Emily stayed in a small guest room above the bar. The club members took turns bringing her food, keeping her company, and making sure she had everything she needed. For the first time in a long time, Emily felt cared for, not as someone broken, but as someone who mattered. Jax, especially, checked in every night. He'd sit across from her, boots propped on the table, and they'd talk about everything, her dreams, her fears, her hopes for her baby. There was something about Jax that made her feel safe, like he carried the weight of the world just to shield others from it. One night, while thunder rumbled outside, Emily clutched her stomach in pain. "Jax!" she called out weakly. Within seconds, the bikers rushed in. Panic turned to action as Mia barked instructions. "We need to get her to the hospital, now!" The roar of motorcycles echoed through the quiet streets once again, this time escorting a van carrying Emily to the Ridgefield Medical Center. Hours later, just as the first light of dawn broke over the mountains, a baby's cry filled the delivery room. "It's a boy," the doctor announced. Emily sobbed with joy. When Jax entered the room, still wearing his leather vest and a smile that barely hid his emotion, she looked up and whispered, "Would you like to hold him?" He froze for a moment, then gently took the newborn into his arms. The tough biker who once ruled the roads now looked down at the tiniest, most fragile thing he'd ever seen. "Hey there, little man," Jax said softly. "You've got a whole army watching over you." Back at the clubhouse, the celebration lasted all night. The Iron Wolves raised their glasses and welcomed the newest member of their family, Baby Jack, as Emily named him in honor of the man who saved them. From that day on, the Iron Horse Bar wasn't just a biker hangout. It became a safe haven for anyone in need. Emily worked there, smiling behind the counter, her baby always nearby. And the bikers? They didn't just protect the town anymore, they protected their family.